Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Well, seeing as you're here and I need meats, now's a perfect time to take a look-see at Europe's evolution from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. Europe's Middle Ages, which lasted from around 470 AD to 1350 AD, were, for most everyone, terrible. Unless you were nobility, the king, the pope, or perhaps a cardinal, life was cruel and unrewarding, and most people did not live to see 60. This terrible quality of life was, how did the kids say, exploitable. The church could use this to quickly spread Christianity, sowing the word that if you dedicated yourself to your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, then once you were done with your garbage existence, you were rewarded with eternal paradise. Because of the public devotion to Christianity and also fear of excommunication, the church held immense power. And the only person with comparable power to the church was the king. These two parties were locked in an eternal struggle for power, as the pope could, should the king displease him, declare him excommunicated, which meant that he would never be let into heaven. This would usually mean that the king would lose the support of the people, but sometimes the people really liked the king and did not like the pope, and so they would ignore the church altogether. And although they did quarrel, both the king and the church benefited from a little something called the Great Chain of Being. The Chain of Being was framed as holy doctrine that basically stated that everything on earth was ranked by God, that some rocks were better than other rocks, some fish were better than other fish, and most importantly, that some humans were better than other humans. In addition, the Chain of Being stated that things higher up in this ranking had the right to rule things below them, and that things, read people, were not allowed to change their place in the chain. This resulted in a civilization that was economically and culturally stagnant. But wait, who's that at the door? Oh, it's the Black Plague. As the Black Death swept through Europe, the existing economy fell into a depression. With the gigantic population drop, there were so many fewer people buying and selling that Europe was left high and dry. "These are the end times," said the Pope. "This is God's judgment." "Wait, then why are all these great people dying?" said the public. Responded the Pope. "Also, that whole Great Chain of Being thing is not really holding up because people seem to die no matter how important they are," said the people. Said the Pope. As you can imagine, these events caused the church to lose a lot of power. Well, this is as bad as it gets. So what next? Enter humanism. The Black Death ruined everyone's lives pretty equally, which gave this guy an idea. Francesco Petrarca figured that humans are the most important, and that anyone has the ability to do anything, and that people should do stuff they're good at, and that economic and social mobility should be a thing. The church realized that it was more profitable to go along with this rather than attempt to cling to the old hierarchy, so humanism quickly became mainstream. And now, it's Renaissance time. As the Black Plague passed and the population of Europe began to increase again, the economy picked back up. Aside from simple regression to the mean, this economic rebirth was due to several factors. The first was the expansion of craft guilds. Craft guilds had been around since medieval times, but with the end of the Black Plague, these guilds became larger and stronger. A guild was a community of craftspeople who did one thing, like shoemakers, blacksmiths, or judges. This expansion resulted in advances in all of these areas and more, with guilds creating standards and sharing techniques to improve their craft. The second factor was increase in trade. For this, let's go to Venice. Now, if the Venetians are good at anything, it was building boats. They had some good ones, like the galley and the cog. In addition, they were in a very good position for seafaring trade, being built on water and junk. So, after Europe finished its reboot, the Venetians set about becoming super duper rich off trade with the Byzantines, then the Ottomans and the Egyptians, aided by their special trade privileges from their help in the Crusades. In addition, many countries followed Portugal's suit in creating trade routes to the Spice Islands near India, which brought in spices among other things and spread the economic prosperity throughout the rest of Europe. Then, in 1440, this guy invented the movable type printing press, which means that Europe can now make books very fast. So, more books plus a humanist ideology equals more accessible knowledge equals more universities that can be accessed through money equals a huge boom in literacy and the creation of an educated, upwardly mobile middle class. And this educated, upwardly mobile middle class, armed with their old Greek and Roman ideas, created a new ruling system called a meritocracy. This social organization was not new. It had been used by the Mongols most notably, as well as countless other civilizations before. The system of a meritocracy is that in which a person's position in society is determined by their eligibility and skill in that area. For example, the person who is the best at basket making would be the leader of the basket making guild. This system enabled power and influence to be acquired through skill and hard work rather than simply birthright. Having a meritocracy in place not only enabled this upward mobility, but also increased overall productivity and innovation, as each and every person was motivated to climb the social ladder, and you were not guaranteed a position because of your birthright. Humanism's influence on art also began to show during the Renaissance as paintings became more realistic, religious figures were made to look more human. People like Leonardo da Vinci studied the human body to create sculptures and paintings that accurately represented the human form, which caught on fast and were extremely popular. This Renaissance period allowed Europe to catch up to the rest of the world and led the way into a global industrial age. So, from veritable garbage pit to economic and cultural world power, that's the story of Europe's evolution from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance. Thanks for sticking with me, and thanks for watching. See you later. And that's it, holy